Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV2. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Graham Murty says he hasn't applied for the Rangers job and doesn't intend to. Down to the wire with the safety certificate at Tynecastle. Alan Archibald is worried about the fixture pile-up for Partick Thistle. Yep, just a few of the talking points. Alan Ruff will be discussing with me, Peter Martin, and it's Friday. We're delighted to have him with us here, Hugh MacDonald of the Daily Mail. So there's the team. Lots of football to look forward to. Domestic football is back. We'll be on STV2 at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Hopefully you can join us for 4 hours of keeping you right up to date with all the goals, the action, the interviews. No shortage of opinion as well. Here's a look at the back page headlines from this morning's papers. Tommy's the right man for the Irish and Rangers. And this is, of course, Tommy Wright says it would be a dream job for him. And I think Brendan Rodgers certainly backing him. And O'Neill there, the green light is O'Neill granted permission to open Scotland talks. That's the record. As far as the Sun is concerned, Ibrox's job right up his street. Tommy and Dell are the standout choices, says Brendan Rodgers. And also Niall McGinn is looking for a new club because he has had his contract terminated, the South Korean club that he was plying his trade. And Ali McCoy is keen on the Sunderland job. And there's the mail for you. Rodgers backs Saints boss for the big time. So Brendan Rodgers has been very, very positive about what could be an interesting managerial merry-go-round. And as one man moves from one job, it opens up for someone else. So Michael O'Neill's got a big decision to make once he gets a chance to sit down with the SFA. Yeah,
it looks as if he's the SFA's priority, isn't it? Prime target. I don't think leaving Northern Ireland will be much of a decision for him, even though he's going to get an enhanced contract. I think what he'll be looking at will be if he can get a job in the Championship, a decent Championship club. I think that would sway him a bit. But yeah, it seems full steam ahead for the SFA. I personally wish they'd waited a wee bit longer and had a more exhaustive process.
Yeah. But if Michael O'Neill does get it, I mean, Tommy Wright is an absolute shoo-in, I think, for Northern Ireland.
Yeah, I think so. You know, he was there as the goalkeeper. You know, he's been there through the coaching as well. I think he's very well liked in Ireland, and he's done nothing wrong with St Johnstone. His CV is of a high stock, and I think he's at an age now that that's when I think that like people should be managers on national sides. You know, when they've done it and they've got a CV and they've plied their trade at club level and coaching. So yeah, no, I think he'd be a great pick.
Okay, that's a job at international level. What about this Rangers job? It's now getting to the stage. We'll listen to Graham Murty first of all, but I'm going to give you my thought process on this, and then you can tell me whether you agree or disagree, Hugh. Graham Murty today, ahead of the match against Hamilton, says he hasn't applied for the job and he doesn't think he needs to.
I haven't, no. I don't think I should have to. The club will, and the club should. But I'm here. I'm a Rangers employee. What role I have at the club is up to people far, far, far above me. So that will be down to them to choose. As far as I'm concerned, I'll just do the best at whatever job they see fit to put me in.
Okay, if he wins against Hamilton, and they can keep this going along, I think there's about to be some kind of, can I use the word spin on this one?
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some kind of spin that suddenly elevates him to the point where they're going to, you know, seriously think about giving him the job.
There's so many, the politics and the economics of the Rangers job are fascinating at the moment. There's a really strong school of thought, and it's backed up by the financial figures that suggests that there's not that much money available, that they're operating on soft loans. To bring McInnes and his backroom staff in, who seem to be, again, like Neil is for the Scotland job, this seems to be the prime target, is going to cost in excess of £1 million, and that's before you accede to any of Derek McInnes' requests for players in the January window. I think the Murty thing would really get, would really be an option. I know there's a strong faction within the Rangers board that are looking at Murty as more than a safe pair of hands.
Yeah. Are they looking at him as more than a safe pair of hands, or are they looking at him now saying, listen, this might be necessity?
I think there's an element of both, Peter, to be frank. Yeah, I think they're looking at it now saying, well, they've been burned badly twice. The actual room to be burned again is just not there. Yeah. There is no money. I mean, you just have to look at... I mean, this is not a point of view. This is not an opinion. This is something that's backed up. This is a club that's operating on loans from directors at the moment, so there's no money. So, yes, he would be the pragmatic choice. Yes, he would be the practical choice. Interestingly, when you take in the politics of it, Pierre, would he be the choice of some of the Rangers fans? Would they get behind him? I really don't know. I mean, all you can do is gauge social media, and I would say it's pretty tepid.
Yeah, I mean, the Derek McInnes story has been, 2-3 weeks constantly, consistently, a number of us have suggested he is the ideal man for the job. You might agree, disagree. I think Derek McInnes is getting more than a little miffed with the questions that keep coming his way.
Listen, I'm here to talk about Aberdeen, with all due respect, and I understand you feel the need to ask a question, but I've already answered a question on it. And, I've been pretty consistent about speculation. There's been no contact from any club, which therefore means it's speculation. And it's 3 weeks on now. So, no, I don't want to be sitting here answering questions all the time, every press conference I do.
Great Scottish word to sum it all up for Derek. I think he's just scunnered with the whole thing now.
Yeah, because obviously as a person, people, everywhere he goes, people will be asking him questions and he's not got any answers. If he hasn't been contacted, then what can he tell anybody? And that, you're right, every time he goes to a press conference, he's got to be talking about Aberdeen. That's his club. They've got a lot to go for this season. So, yeah, I can see why when he goes to press conferences, he gets a bit annoyed. But he's going to get asked the questions anyway. But
interestingly, he could end it. He could stop the speculation.
Yes,
he could just say, it only takes 5 words,
But realistically,
I don't want the job.
No, I know, but realistically, I think somebody mentioned it to him at the press conference, why don't you just say you're not interested in the job? But let's be honest about it, even Aberdeen fans know Derek McInnes has to want to better himself. If Rangers were, let's just say this was pre-Kashinya, and they approached him, he'd be there in a heartbeat.
He might even be there in a heartbeat now, because we know the pool... If you're a Celtic or a Rangers fan, the pool of that job is huge. I mean, it's and we know Derek's affection for the club. So the pool is. It's interesting you said there they better themselves as well, because would he be? That's the crucial question that only Derek can answer.
Well, I mean, my personal opinion on it, Hugh, is quite simply that I think right now the Rangers fans are, their eye is on one ball, which is who is the manager you're going to give us, and will it satisfy your expectation, which is the first thing. But I think there are a number of other Rangers fans who operated at another level and are looking at this in a business sense and saying, what is going on at my club?
Absolutely.
Where is the revenue coming from? And is it always based on April, when the season ticket renewal money comes in? Because there were made promises, and I don't think they've been given them. And I seriously think there are some Rangers fans thinking, OK, we'll wait and see who the manager is, but we're going to wait and see what the ambitions are of this board. Yeah,
and the big thing is the only way out, because the soft loans either have to be written off, which I don't think is an option, or they have to be repaid. How are these going to be repaid? The only thing I would think of would be some kind of share issue, and the share issue dilutes the shares that people have already, and we know that our sub-fans group is the second biggest shareholding, so their payments have been reduced already. Yeah. So it really is, it seems now down to the fans to bail Rangers out again, and it's politically, that's what I'm saying about the moves at the moment. There's so much going on behind the scenes, and the bottom line though is to see them back in a position, that expectation of being, top, in Champions League or winning titles is far away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Graham Murty will just keep the reins and try and get a win tomorrow. 3 wins in a row, something they didn't achieve under Kashinya, but he's happy to take that role on.
I have no bearing on what's being said. The fans obviously have their voice, and it's nice that there's a positive vibe around the club at the moment. As far as my own situation goes, I'm not in charge of that either. I just go on and get the job done as well as I possibly can. And I think I said to you previously, the job I do is to leave the players in a good position for whoever comes in. Hopefully, we're doing that. Hopefully, the players are appreciative of it, because as far as I can see, the players are acquitting themselves very, very well at the moment.
Okay, is it a win for Rangers tomorrow for you, Ruffy?
Yeah, I think Rangers supporters would expect a win tomorrow. I think the last couple of results have been playing better than what they have.
Okay, after the break we are going to talk Hearts and of course the return to Tynecastle. Is it on? Is it off? We'll give you the latest on that after this quick first teaser question. Yeah, 53. What do you make of that, Ruffy? Eh? Yeah, you lost that one.
No, I actually get conned out of that.
Yeah. How did that happen?
Railroaded is the word.
You get conned.
No. Okay. We're now going to switch our attention to Tynecastle. It failed a safety inspection today, and it's all roads lead to tomorrow for another inspection. So clearly, this is indeed going down to the wire with the game against Partick Thistle. They've been working through the night. They're doing their absolute best to get it ready. And they've obviously been given certain things that they need to rectify before they get the all clear.
It looks like a living room of a flat I shared with 4 guys in the 1970s, you know, which took more than a weekend to clear, never mind. It really is in all respects a shambles. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, a day before a match, you know, waiting for a safety certificate. And as someone who has regularly praised Hearts since they've come back from their financial problems and praised the stewardship of Anne Budge and others, it seems to be a series of problems, isn't it? I mean, Hearts a year ago, everybody was talking about on the up, playing well, new stadium, fans on board, and since then it's just been a drip of negative stories.
Well, I'm going to counter that with you. I'm going to disagree with you, only on the basis that I can understand, you know, and I'm not having a go at the entire building nation here, but, you know, I have a joiner, and every time he comes to my house, he'll look and he'll go, the previous guy used to do this, and then he said it'll take 4 weeks, and then it takes maybe 6 weeks. I still hire him because he's good. They've been working through the night. In the end, nobody will look back and say, it's a shambles when it eventually gets open, Hugh. We are guilty, and I include, you know, our programme and over the years of maybe sensationalising things. At the end of the day, they're doing their best to get it open. When it eventually opens, game on, because I think it's going to be a fantastic stadium. I'm so glad they decided to stay at Tynecastle.
I'm glad they decided to stay to the Hearts fan, but Peter, if you're a punter, I'm sorry, and it's Friday night, and you don't know if the game's on Sunday, that's a shambles.
Is the game on? No. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to have to go and watch the Sunday game, which is maybe Man U Newcastle.
Yeah, but I don't know why they're putting themselves through it. You know, to push for this Sunday. I mean, they
want to get back there, get the atmosphere, get the whole thing buzzing.
Another week or a fortnight isn't going to make much difference.
Well, it is. They can't win games at Murrayfield. Can't go to Murrayfield either now.
Well, why can't they reverse it to Thistle?
No, we're not having that, Ruffy, to be honest with you. Well, because quite simply they're... Listen, I think the SPFL are being fair on it. They're giving them right up to the wire. They'll get a bit of flack. I'm not sure I agree with the word shambles, but I think if they get it open, if they get the certificate tomorrow, then everybody will forget about that and crack on with the game.
But it's the only place in Scotland you think, if you were going along to see Neil Diamond on Sunday, or you were going to see any entertainment
I can't argue
Sunday,
with you on that.
And somebody said, by the way, we don't know if Neil Diamond's on Sunday because we haven't got the hall ready, you'd be saying, what? I've paid £100 for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I get that part of it. It's slightly, there's a slight difference. There's just a wee bit more leeway that I think football fans are giving them. I mean, the Partick Thistle fans are not exactly sitting there with their cases packed thinking, oh, I mean, I've booked a hotel, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the punter, and you're leaving the punter in a position where you are inconveniencing them. It's as simple as that.
I think you're inconveniencing them, but to suggest it's a shambles for me is, listen, that's the great thing about having you in the studio, you know. I don't necessarily agree with you all the time, Hugh.
Quite right too.
Absolutely.
I don't necessarily agree with myself either.
No, absolutely. But I'll tell you one thing that is true about this stadium. If it does get the certificate tomorrow, Craig Levine, looking forward to it, because the atmosphere, I think, is going to be even better, if that is possible.
There was a debate years and years ago about the new stadium and where it would be built, and I think a lot of people were up in arms the fact that it might move away from Tynecastle. You know, so I think initially the announcement I made over a year ago about us staying at Tynecastle and building a new stand was something that everybody was really looking forward to. That's what the supporters want. But the supporters will get in and get to see the new Tynecastle, and also be able to sit in their seats and feel the atmosphere, which I think will be even better than it was previously.
Yeah, some people will be able to stretch their legs, which is the one thing I remember about Tynecastle in that press box.
Because with Harry Houdini, it was in that, would struggle to get out of the seat after 90 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I've always rated it as one of the joys of Scotland. I think it's one, you know, the splendours of Scottish football, which is a packed Tynecastle and the atmosphere. This seems to have retained it. I'm so glad they've stayed here as well. I'm not a great man for the purpose, what is called the purpose-built stadium. I think they should retain some of the tradition, and they have there. Interesting stories though off the park. I think, you know, that Hearts and St Johnstone are the two stories off the park now. That people are talking a bit about Hearts, but not so much about St Johnstone. It's just where they'll be at the end of the season, because the run of form both are in is not clever at all.
Believe me, Hugh, in Edinburgh, with a lot of my Jambo friends, they are talking about Levine and what he's doing with Hearts, and I think slowly but surely, once they get over the streamers and the fanfare of Tynecastle, they'll start to look at it. Of course, there is another team playing in that match. They're not there to make up the numbers. Partick Thistle are there, hopefully, on Sunday to get some points. Alan Archibald certainly worried if this match should get called off, there could be a fixture pile-up.
In the Hearts game, wasn't asked for the game to be changed. It was also, at the time, a hard decision for us. Yeah, we want to help Hearts out, but it gave us 3 tough away games in November. But we decided to do it. But the last thing we want for the games to be off and then to give us 9 games in December. We've probably not, at the moment, got a big enough squad to deal with that. We're not at a Premiership English club where you've got 26 players to choose from.
Yeah, Hibs, Hearts, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, Dundee, Celtic on the horizon. You know, it starts to get really busy for Alan Archibald, and he's just come out of that period, Ruffy, of people starting to say, oh, is he in danger of losing his job?
Yeah, I think every manager's got to look after their own team. You know, he's obviously looked at the fixtures, he's looked at the amount of injuries he's got, he's looked at they're not picking up the points that he should, you know, and obviously, as I said at the beginning, you've got to look after yourself, you know, and you're right, if this game is cancelled and he feels that the fixture list is going to harm his team, he's every right to complain. Yep,
OK. The early kick-off tomorrow is up at Dingwall. It's Ross County against Celtic. Good news for Celtic, if you can stuff any more into a box, is that they'll have about 6 players back fit that have been out. I'm going to rhyme them off to you now, guys. But you've got Griffiths, Armstrong, Brown, Roberts, Shimonovic and Zviachenko. So suddenly he's starting to get even more strength back.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering how he plays it tomorrow, Peter, because he'll obviously be going to Paris next week, so he'll be looking at, you know, precisely what kind of team he's going to play there. Does it, for example, does he give Simonovic a run and take him off? Does he leave him for Paris. He's got a lot of thinking to do tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, he does have the Player of the Month in his starting lineup, who's been getting so much praise, and deservedly so. This is what the Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers had to say about Kieran Tierney's position.
His best position is left back, and if he plays left back for Scotland, then that's where they'll gain the maximum out of a super talented young player. But what he has is that adaptability to play in different positions. You know, we play a number of different systems here. So he's played as a left side centre half for me before. He's played left side of a 3. But you see his threat when he plays as a full back or as a wide player in a 3-4-3. How effective he is.
Well, there's absolutely no surprise that Kieran Tierney is a very down-to-earth lad, and as you would expect, he'll play anywhere.
I got asked that about right back as well, and it's just the same. It's wherever I'm told. I've played right back for the last few games of the campaign. Tried my best, and unfortunately didn't get through. But it's left back, centre back, or right back. I don't really mind. I'm probably more comfortable with my left foot, that's for sure. But also when you're playing right back, you get to go up as well. Centre back, you're more kind of defensive. So there's pros and cons of both positions. So
yeah. That's just a strong indication of the type of player that you want in your side, that great attitude.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he could play whatever position he's been asked to play, but I always feel you play the players to their strength, and his strength is left back, and it's there for everybody to see. The damage that he causes from a full-back position is superb. It's tradition. Danny McGrain, you know, it's just the same. The fans expect their full-back to be up in the opposition 18-yard line. They expect them to be, you know, putting balls into the box. Maybe it's not scoring lots of goals, but certainly they're big players.
I think he should be played at left-hand side for Scotland. I see the problem for Scottish managers because they've got two outstanding candidates there, and you may have to fit both in. Personally, I think Robertson's good enough to play wide of a 4 or wide in midfield, you know, just push him on one. But I think the Tierney story is absolutely outstanding. 3 years ago, struggling to get in the Celtic under-17 team, now marching out as captain of Scotland. Inspiration to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. OK, Ross County against Celtic. Is it 64 undefeated in a word?
Yes.
OK, after the break, we'll hear from Derek McInnes, Neil Lennon and Steve Clark. Join us if you can. You must feel so happy about that, Hugh. You just nailed that one.
Very smug about all of them today, very smug.
Was it the Dolly Parton song that...
I think it was, it was Dolly Parton. It was Dolly Parton. A great Dolly Parton fan, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So is Ruffy. OK, let's crack on with the football now. And we are going to switch our attention to Aberdeen Motherwell, because the one thing I was going to say to you, Ruffy, is apart from all this speculation, we still have an interesting battle at the top. Aberdeen are still in contention. We wanted that. We want. I mean, we want them to try and push Celtic as far as they possibly can. You know, January, February, March would be nice. Can't see it though, but they're still in there.
Yeah, and they were still in it for a couple of seasons as well. They were. I think there was one particular game we were in here on a Saturday, and if they won the game, they would have went top of the league. But unfortunately, they didn't. You know, but they had numerous chances to go top of the league. And then obviously Celtic drew away, but it is good for the league, you know, that somebody is challenging. I mean, going like 30 odd points clear is just ridiculous, but no, good luck to them.
Yep, only one defeat in the last 6 games. That was against Celtic, but Derek McInnes, interestingly enough, I wonder if they will go back and look at Niall McGinn now that he's been freed.
I think he will, because he really rated him, and the Hearts are obviously sniffing about. And I think, you know, you'll look at that as, you know, some little cog that's missing for his team. The interesting thing about tomorrow's game is Motherwell have kind of stuttered a wee bit after that fantastic wee run of it, and it'll be interesting to see how they approach the game pre a cup final.
Yeah.
Because these guys are not used to cup finals, and I wonder if there's any kind of feeling, you know, almost subconsciously of just holding yourself a bit back, because next week's is the you know, the highlight of many of them careers. I don't know. Did you ever feel that before a big game came on? Did you?
Well, I think you want to be playing. You want to be playing the week before any final or any big game, because at least it gives the manager a chance to see that you are the one that should be in that position. But you're right. You know, I think the Motherwell manager has got a few sort of questions floating about his head, obviously, with the results I've had. He'll know the guys who performed in the semi-final. You know, he might just think, right, let's just go with them because they've been there and they've done it. But I'm sure they would like to get, maybe not a win at Aberdeen, but certainly a positive result.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's great about this cup final coming up for Motherwell is but I think both Motherwell Celtic and the SPFL have been involved in inviting members of Phil O'Donnell's family to the final, which I think is going to be fantastic. There's a charity cardiac arrest in the Young, which is a charity which I know will be close to the O'Donnell family's hearts. Young Luke was chatting to me last week at a fundraiser, and he's going to get the chance to represent the O'Donnell family, going out with the cup, putting it on the plinth at the start of the game. Great gesture, well done to all concerned in inviting the family.
Absolutely. I mean, we always take the baseball about out Scottish football, and it's good fun to do so, but there are times when everybody gets everything right, and this is one of those occasions. It really is incredible to think it's so long since Phil passed, you know, and to look back, and I can remember I wasn't at the match, but I can remember the aftermath, and I was working on the Sunday, and the sense of shock in Scottish football, because it's easily said, but it is nevertheless true. He was one of the good guys. People had great affection for him, whatever club he went to and whatever he did. So, yeah, a worthy tribute, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Aberdeen Motherwell will be painful for the Dons boss, Derek McInnes, because they were hoping they'd be taking to the field against Celtic in that Betfred League Cup final. But it's Motherwell, and as you can tell from Derek McInnes, the pain still hasn't left him.
Initially, it was a sore one losing in the cup, and I think it was actually good that we had an immediate opportunity to set the league's side of it right, and we can't say we played well on a Sunday, but we were certainly far more competitive, and I thought that's what was sadly lacking in the first game. So I think from that point of view, it's important that we are every bit as competitive, and hopefully try and find a way to get the right result, but full of praise and admiration for how Motherwell have started this season. I think they're very good at what they do. They're very well organised. I think Steve's put together a squad there to play a system, and know they can make it difficult for any team.
Yep, he's talking about Stephen Robinson, the Motherwell manager. We've just been talking about Niall McGinn. We're about to hear from Neil Lennon, who's going to be talking about Michael O'Neill. We should just actually record this show from Belfast, Ruffy. I mean, because all we're talking about is people from Northern Ireland.
Yeah, and I've seen a map there in the papers. They all were quite near each other, you know, where they all were brought up. And it just, I mean, we had a big Irish contingent before. Remember, we had Fenlon at Hibs, we had Motherwell. Who else did we have? I mean, it's been there and done it. Like we were always talking about Scottish managers being down in England.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've not got as many as what we used to have. But certainly, I think it's good to bring good for the interviews. Obviously, with Neil, you know, I think they bring something different.
Yep, it's Hibs against St Johnstone. It's Northern Ireland man against a Northern Ireland man, and the Hibs boss has been talking about Michael O'Neill potentially becoming boss of Scotland, and he says he completely, he's not in the least bit surprised, first and foremost, about the interest in O'Neill.
You know, he's worked miracles really with the squad of players that he's had, and maybe, I don't know if he thinks it's a glass ceiling with Northern Ireland. Only Michael can answer that. It's doesn't surprise me that Scotland are, you know, showing interest in him. You know, he lives in Edinburgh, the environment, he knows it very well. He's played in Scotland. A very astute, shrewd guy. But I don't know if he wants another stint in international management, or if he does leave Northern Ireland, will he go into club management? But I can see why Scotland have, you know, created an interest in him.
Okay, it's Hibs against St Johnstone. You mentioned earlier in the programme about, okay, everybody's talking maybe about Tommy Wright getting that big job, which he has mentioned would be a dream job. But they've got the small matter of Hibs, who are on this great run at the moment, and St Johnstone just look as if they've... I think the biggest problem that we've been talking to a number of players about is the fact that the old guard, the Scottish Cup winners, are gone. Now you're trying to replace them.
Yeah, it's very difficult because you're trying to replace them on a very tight budget. Where Tommy's trying to go as well is he's trying to bring in a little bit of craft, a little bit of, you know, technique up front, you know, and pace, and O'Halloran on loan, Skugel, etc. But they're just not scoring goals. It's as simple fact as that. And if you're not scoring goals, obviously you're not going to win games. I think it's a very tough task for them tomorrow. The international break was a pain in the posterior for Hibs because they were going like a train coming into it. But if they pick up the momentum quickly, I can only see one result tomorrow.
Yeah, this could be 5 wins out of 5. Are you going for it, Ruffy?
Yeah, I think I am, obviously based on...
What, you're going for Hibs to win?
Yeah.
That's shocking, that's stunning.
It's amazing.
Just taking a chance this week.
Yeah.
No, I think in the light, I mean, if you're not, as Hugh said, if you're not scoring goals regularly, you're always going to struggle. You're going to go into games looking to see who is going to score a goal for you, but Hibs don't have to do that. They've got players from midfield and up front, so yeah, that's for me.
Yep, okay. This one might be a bit tougher for you guys to call. Dundee against Kilmarnock. Steve Clarke, I think, you know, we had Stephen O'Donnell and he was very positive about, you know, the manager, what he's doing. It doesn't, you know, he doesn't flood them with 1,000,001 ideas, just tries to keep it simple at the moment. He's a manager highly rated, and he goes to a club with a man that I've got a lot of time for, in Neil McCann, who's struggling to get the chemistry right. Yeah,
and intriguing match. I think Steve Clarke was a game changer for Kilmarnock. And don't you mean on the park? I mean off the park as well. I think it will galvanise a lot of the support, generate a lot of interest. I think he's a coach with extraordinary pedigree. I think it's a big match for Dundee tomorrow. I really do. I think I mean Dundee really need to get that season started.
Yep, of course Steve Clarke's got Yusuf Malumba training there with him at the moment. He says it's just training, but we'll wait to see if they could orchestrate some sort of deal. This is what the Killie boss makes of the trip to Dens Park.
I've seen them a couple of times, Dundee. Impressed the way they try to play. They make the pitch big, quite expansive, pass the ball well. Maybe in a slightly false position. Having seen most of the teams up here, I wouldn't put Dundee as the worst team in the division.
Doesn't have them as the worst team. I'm curious to see where Kilmarnock end, Ruffy, in this league with Steve Clarke. He'll get a January transfer window, hopefully with some money to spend.
Yeah, and I think the guys behind the scenes have got money to give him. You know, it'll be interesting, I'm sure, to bring the supporters back on board. That's what they keep trying to do. It'd be interesting if they got a couple of big signings. You know, obviously Stevie's got a lot of contacts down in England, and they'll be anticipating maybe 2 or 3 players coming in. You know, and that might just kick them into that maybe near top 6 place.
Yeah, Dundee, then Aberdeen, St Johnstone and Partick. We're looking at that and thinking we've got to take some good points from those games.
Yep. Absolutely, and I think they will. I mean, I think they've already taken points from Celtic Park and Ibrox, so that's a great momentum builder for anybody. That's great confidence. You're not going to go to, you know, Pittodrie is difficult as well, but they'll be looking at that and saying, well, if we can take points there, we can take points anywhere.
Yep. Okay. Coming up after the break, we'll be speaking to our man down south, Ian McGarry, regular feature on a Friday. Ian will look at the Premier League fixtures and give us the insight into, of course, the North London derby, which is the big one that they're looking forward to. There's a small matter of the Scottish Cup as well. We'll be looking at all those fixtures and getting some tips from Alan Ruff and, of course, Hugh MacDonald. Join us after the break. Yeah, Well, happy with that, Ruffy, because Hugh and I have a point each and you have got no points. You didn't get anything today. I thought you would have looked at the Inter Milan side, which contained 3 very famous Germans.
I saw one down the bottom.
Yeah, what's his name?
Bonoff.
Oh, Andreas Bremer. And then Lothar Matthäus and Klinsmann. Good side.
Wasn't half.
Great team. And I think AC Milan had the 3 Dutch.
That's right. I mean, that was the days of the real dominance of Italian football. I think it's just pre the great AC Milan team, who I think might are certainly contenders for the greatest club team of all time.
Well, there's a line, Ruffy. We could do a programme on that.
And we will.
Let's do a programme on that. The greatest club team of all time. Better than Real Madrid of the 60s?
I think they're in there. I think Honved of the 1956 vintage is in there.
Ajax?
And Ajax. But I would put them ahead of Bayern Munich and Ajax. And I'd put them ahead of Barca. The Barca team and the early Barca teams.
No.
Yep.
What, ahead of the 2008 side?
Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. I think in the AC Milan team, or that great AC Milan team, were players who were not only the best players in the world in that position, but are contenders to be the best players ever in the world. And those Maldini's got, best left back ever. Baresi, best stopper ever. Hullet, best right-sided. Rijkaard, best Van Basten, best striker ever. What a team. How many could you say in the Barcelona team, best ever? Messi.
Yeah. Well, it's a
great argument.
It is a great argument, but then as a collective, do you need to be the best ever in every position, or 4 or 5 positions, Ruffy, to win it? Because I know there are older people watching this programme throwing things at the telly right now and saying to him, "What about Hento? What about Di Stefano? What
Puskis.
About,
Santa Maria, what a team.
Absolutely. It's a great one. What? What?
That not a boat?
It's a him.
Yeah. You need help, Ruffy. Okay, let's have a look at the fixtures. Let's have a look at the fixtures. Premiership. Join us if you can tomorrow on STV2 at 2 o'clock. As you can see there, Ross County Celtic is the early kick-off. It's Aberdeen, Motherwell, Dundee, Kilmarnock, Hibs against St Johnstone, Rangers, Hamilton, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it won't be shambolic at Tynecastle. It'll be Hearts against Partick Thistle. Only 1 League 2 match, Cowdenbeath against Annan. And here is the Scottish Cup third round fixtures. Lothian Thistle against St Mirren, Airdrie Cove Rangers, Arbroath Berwick, Bankside Ayr United, Buckie Thistle Brecon, Clyde East Fife, Dumbarton Elgin, East Kilbride Albion Rovers. And Formerton against Forfar, Livingston Glenafton, Montrose Queen of the South, Peterhead Raith Rovers, Queen's Park Dunfermline, Spartans Fraserburgh, Stennismuir against Alloa, and Stranraer against Brora Rangers. So there you have it. That's what you can look forward to. And there's the Premier League for us. Arsenal against Tottenham, Bournemouth Huddersfield, Burnley Swansea, Crystal Palace Everton, Leicester City Man City, Liverpool Southampton, West Brom against Chelsea, and Manchester United against Newcastle is the 5:30 kick-off. So with that in mind, our man down south is Ian McGarry, and earlier we all had a chat with him and asked him, first of all, Arsenal-Tottenham, is the balance of power shifting?
Well, it's interesting, Peter, that we seem to repeat this same debate over the last 2 to 3 years, when Spurs have obviously become an emerging force, and indeed I think an established force now in the top 4, not just in English football. Personally, I think that ship sailed last season when Tottenham finished in Champions League and Arsenal didn't. So I'm not a fan of the, if Spurs can go to the Emirates tomorrow and get a convincing win, then the pendulum of power has shifted. I think that's already happened. I think that's happened against the background of Wenger's defiance about not leaving. And I think it's very interesting that to listen to Arsenal fans this last week, they've been the ones crowing about the importance of beating Spurs because that's all they've got left. Now, I think it's sad when a great club like Arsenal are reduced to simply wanting to win a derby against their North London rivals because they know they're not competing for the Premier League, they're not competing for the Champions League, and 3 FA Cups in 4 years is an achievement, but it'd be more of an achievement for the likes of Stoke or Hull City than it is for Arsenal. So I do think it's a bit sad that we're in this situation. interestingly, team news, Toby Alderweireld out until the new year. It's a big miss for Spurs because they've been playing that back three. And ex-Celtic star Victor Wanyama also won't even make the bench tomorrow for Spurs. In terms of Arsenal, most players are fit, but I think they're still too shaky at the back. And lo and behold, miracles will never cease. The three players who pulled out of the England squad of Spurs, Dele Alli, Eric and Harry Kane, most noticeably, are fit to play. And I think that'll be the difference tomorrow at the Emirates.
What do you see the way forward, you know, even post this weekend for Arsenal? You know, like, there's great rumours over Sanchez and Ozil leaving. It places Wenger in a really difficult position.
It should do. Hugh absolutely should do, but it hasn't. You know, he should have gone 5 years ago, as far as I'm concerned, and hasn't done. And every year there's a debate about his future. Now, if they do lose tomorrow against Spurs, then the debate will continue yet again. And to be quite honest, it's getting boring. Arsenal, almost everyone in English football, and certainly a lot of people within Arsenal, out with of the owner and the current board, are waiting for Arsene Wenger to leave so that the club can then be forced to move on. The loss of Ozil and Sanchez will be big because they're like their superstar players, but this is a club who have allowed their contracts to run down, and two players who have decided not to re-sign. Now, if Ozil and Sanchez aren't re-signing for reported contract offers worth in excess of £300,000 a week, that tells you that they don't see their challenge being at Arsenal anymore, and they're not just going to stay for the money. They're going to go elsewhere, and they want to win trophies elsewhere in what would be the peak of their careers. So I think things will get worse for Arsenal before they get better.
Ian, obviously we were all waiting to see where David Moyes was going to go, and now it's West Ham. He's brought all his own team down with him. Has he got the players down there to turn it round?
It's a good squad, Ruffy. You know, it's an imbalanced squad, but they've got talent there. They've got Premier League experience as well. I think there was a couple of bad buys made in the summer, Arnautovic being one of them. And to be fair, Moyes kind of called Arnautovic out at his press conference this morning, said Arnautovic is someone who he's seen play on television in the last year or so. However, even seeing him on television, he doesn't think he's a bad player, but he thinks he's a player who doesn't play for the team, i.e. he's selfish, he loses possession, he doesn't use the ball properly when the team have got possession. Now, if you think about David Moyes' way of organising a football team, he doesn't really stand for the fancy Dan player. He doesn't like that kind of player who risks possession, therefore risks goals against. So I don't expect to see Arnautovic starting on Sunday. Big game for Moyes, though, his 500th in the Premier League. Away at Watford, a Watford team who actually have performed better away from home than they have at home this season, but a Watford team who are very capable of taking the game to a rather shaky West Ham defence. It'll be very interesting. Today he also said that players have come and told him what was wrong under Bilic, what needed changing, and he's kind of turned that back on them. He's flipped it and said, OK, we've changed the things that you asked me to change. Let's see you go out and do it against Watford now. Yeah.
Last point, Ian. Of course, I can hear Eminem in the background singing "Look Who's Back, Guess Who's Back." But the big man who lacks a bit of confidence will be wearing the Man United shirt before the end of the year.
Shrinking violet, that boy really is. And look, fair play to Zlatan Ibrahimovic to come back from an ACL, a cruciate ligament injury, possibly career-ending at his age, 35, and come back in record time. He'll be on the bench, maybe on Saturday against Newcastle United, possibly just in the squad. You're not going to rush him back. Paul Pogba also back as well, a big plus for Jose Mourinho. Marcus Rojo not so much, but also in that squad. I'd say that the biggest source of entertainment will be, for me, Peter, is the fight between him and Romelu Lukaku over that number 9 shirt which Lukaku took when Zlatan got injured and he signed. I'll be very interested to see who. My money's on Zlatan in the fight, to be fair.
Yeah, and last point, I can't let you go without getting your prediction on it. Arsenal-Tottenham.
I don't think it'll be 4-4 like it was a few years ago. I think Tottenham will win 3-1 Tottenham, I'd say.
Do you agree with them?
I think Tottenham will win as well. I think they're a right good side, Tottenham, and getting better. Especially every time they're asked something, they go on. There's a team is building up there. I thought the result against Real Madrid was a good benchmark for where they are as well. Yeah.
OK. Fingers crossed you can join us tomorrow, STV2 at 2 o'clock. Hopefully we'll be looking ahead to Hearts against Partick Thistle on the Sunday going ahead. Anne Budge did release a statement earlier today saying, I can't definitely say yes, she says, but I can say that every indication points to the game going ahead with that temporary certificate. Hopefully getting signed off tomorrow, and then everybody can look forward to that as well. That would be absolutely great, Ruffy, and then we can put that whole shambolic situation behind us.
Yep, I think it will go ahead. I don't think, as you said, you can leave it this late to cancel it. Everybody loves their football, so, and I'm sure the Hearts supporters will be really geared up to see the new stadium.
Okay, join us if you can tomorrow. My thanks to Ian McGarry down there keeping his eye on the Premier League for us. Hopefully you enjoyed the programme tonight. Ruffy will be back with me tomorrow. Gordon Smith will be there. And sometimes Hugh works so hard that he can't be with us on a Saturday. Every now and then the Elgin needs a wee day and we bring in another Elgin in his place. So Jerry McCabe will join us, who has got great skill in the left foot, a foot that Hugh only uses for balance. Thanks for watching. Good night.